Hey, don't you look at me, bedtime crew. This face ain't made for tears. Hey, man, Steve Erceg was having the fight of his life in there. He was looking like prime Astro Boy versus Alexandre Pantoja. He was successfully blocking Kai Kara France's fist with his face, man. He was looking perfect, dude. If it wasn't for that lucky right hand, that was an early stoppage, man. Steve Erceg, he had that in the bag, dude. If that went 10 more minutes, if the referee had done his job, stupid Jason Herzog, I'm telling you, man, Erceg crew would have been the next #1 contender, man. I'm not coping. Stop pretending that I'm not being serious here. I am an Erceg fan, and I am Steve Erceg. But let me tell you, bedtime crew, it's a big conspiracy, just like back in 2020. What do you think about all this news, Skatesman? I tell you, man, he won that shit.
Are you talking about Steve Erceg?
Yeah, of course, man. Erceg crew. I'm talking about
the guy who did a 45-minute interview with Luke Thomas about how MMA boxing is bad and he has good MMA boxing and he got knocked out by Kai Kara France, that guy?
But that. Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, I think Steve Erceg's I think he's a fucking clown.
I think that's character evidence, bedtime crew. I don't think that's good for a debate. You got to come in with the facts. You know, everybody has a slip up every once in a while. You know, everybody has.
I mean, the facts are he did a whole interview about how he has better boxing than like most MMA fighters, and then he gets knocked out.
And he does. He's got the best boxing ever, man. Best boxer at 125, bro. It was just
he got caught flat-footed with no head movement and got left hooked and stopped. What are you talking about?
Well, you know, Tom Nolan had a lot of potential too, bedtime crew. He also has his head very stationary, very open for punches. He's got a terrible striking defense. But you know what?
The difference is that Tom Nolan didn't do a 45-minute interview about how his boxing is some of the best.
Well, you know, he actually did do it. It went for the exact same amount of time, but it was on TikTok. And I know you don't follow the youngins, so you didn't listen to that interview Idaho Skatesman. But I'm telling you, that man is a liar and he's a cheat and he's a criminal.
Nah, it just sounds like cope to me because your boy lost.
It's true, bedtime crew. It's true, bedtime crew. Just you want to know if Steve Erceg won? Just ask Hank, the mother loving tank. Hank knows that Erceg lost. He got caught flush and then got fucking absolutely destroyed with left hand against the side of the cage. I'm sorry. I couldn't cope any longer, Skatesman. The truth must be set free. And I know that my boy Steve Erceg lost. And back to the drawing board for Steve Erceg. But hey, I still think he has a lot of potential. I think he won't go out like Tony Ferguson. Trust. But
I hope he does, because then he'll just be a meme.
Well, he was a meme already. It's just whether or not he was a dated meme or a meme that aged like.
Yeah, and we'll get into it a little more. But yeah, I mean, this is the SkateTank MMA Podcast. Strange start to the podcast. I'm in a car off my phone in the mountains right now. So hoping that the stream stays alive.
There hasn't been a lot of lightning strikes or huge thunderstorms that are.
Oh, yeah, there's lightning. It's coming.
Oh, shit. Okay, well, I better move on to our next segment on the channel. Speaking of people in denial, I got to give a very warm welcome to number 7 on the Rush Hour Tapology Tournament. Denial! He bet with his heart, and instead of his head, and his heart is beating, dude. His heart is big as a fucking drum, man. Denial's on a roll.
Good
He's in the same place as Sean Moody.
Yeah, what happened to your picks?
Well, let's not talk about myself. Let's not be selfish here, Idaho Skate. So let's talk about you.
Tell the people what happened to your illustrious.
I have to compare, okay? Idaho Skatesman was right below Denial, okay? He's number 8 in the tournament. Hey, good for you. And I did. Here's the results, my friend. All shown 3, mon ami. I went through every single result. I was on the fucking card. I went down, I tallied it up, I crossed my T's, I dotted my I's, and I came out in a respectable 11th place, only 25 points below you, 400. I am tied for 11th.
Why aren't you on the board, though?
Well, it's funny you should mention that.
I mean, just tell the people. You forgot. Okay, look, I'll just tell them because you're taking a while to get there. Hank the Tank forgot to save his picks on a show that is literally just started because we made picks on Tapology. My buddy Hank the Tank forgot to save his picks. Honest mistake, no worries. But the main thing is that we're now 8-4-1 since we started this podcast. Skatesman is now doubled up on Hank the Tank.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get any better from there. I can be honest with you. But I think the key message to take away from my L on this pay-per-view is that Idaho Skatesman and I are at the cream of the crop in the Rush Hour Tapology tournament. We are always either right outside the top 10 or in the top 10. So trust SkateTank MMA with your bets and trust us with your life and all your money and your life savings and your social security. Bet it all on SkateTank MMA because we are looking out for you.
I think the bigger takeaway is that next time we do a last-minute pick show, we got it. Me too, because I actually only went 6 out of 12. I was 50-50 on this card. Still got 7th, right?
Right.
Yeah, so still got 7th, but that just shows, how tough this card was to pick. And when we do a recap on the picks, I gotta switch it up, man. Because you never get a perfect card; it's very rare, and we just got to make sure we're on point.
True that, Skatesman. Let's also say hello to Volkan Artich. What is up, my brothers? My Dagestani boy, my brother in arms, dude, blood brother. And he asked, want to do Dana White's Contender Series prediction? Well, I got that on dial, man. That's I'm saving that for the very end after we're done with our UFC show.
Yeah, that's on the docket, Volkan. Thank you for coming, though, man.
Yeah, thank you. But anyway, very happy for Denial. Happy for us both. I think we all three of us did very, very well. But and I think that also applies to some of my locks that I had for the weekend. If you want to come on down and take a look at what I got for you, sample my wares. Let's first take a look. Oh, Jesus Christ. What's Skatesman doing?
Looking for a fan. It's fucking hot as shit in this car.
Oh, shit. Well, and meanwhile, while I'm putting up my locks, let's look for Idaho Skatesman's air conditioning, shall we? Got to find some way to keep this man cool. There's a cucumber. Oh, he's muted. Anyway, let's take a look-see at my wares, at my locks for the evening. I predicted Nikolay Alexekin. It was not a good start to my locks. He was supposed to face Renato Gomez, but the fight got canceled. So technically my lock didn't win, and it didn't lose either. So, hey, I'll take it. It's better than an L. We then move on to the PFL, which we should run down. At least the upper half of the card because that has the more notable names. We start with good old Mads Brunel beating the shit out of Elvin Espinoza. What do you think of this incredible encounter, Skates?
Well, it was really competitive. It was kind of getting hairy for Mads Brunel. Shout out to my buddy Degenerate Dane, who is also Danish, like Mads Brunel. He had a lot of money on this dude, won him some money. I thought it was pretty hairy in the first round. It was really back and forth competitive fight. And then Mads Brunel just started taking over the fight. Drops Elvin in a few spots and really just took over with this crisp, clean boxing that's really unassuming. He doesn't really throw big, but when he lands like clean on your jaw, he's got some power, man.
Yeah, for sure. And he's actually had some fun performances in this last couple fights, so I got to give him credit. Also, good for Degenerate Dane for choosing a fellow Dane to win, and he pulls it off. So nationality always pays off, man. Being a nationalist, it doesn't work anywhere else, but in MMA, it definitely helps. Then we have a very strange fight between Danny Sabatello and Lazara Dayron. Goes to a majority draw. Very strange rounds. Referee, not BS, but referee involvement. A bunch of shenanigans ensued, and that's why this went to a draw. What do you think? If you watch this live, how do you? What do you make of this?
What is his fucking name?
Dayton. Lazaro Dayron.
What's his? Oh, Dayron. Yeah, so I thought that Danny Sabatello was going to do Danny Sabatello things, lay and pray, wet blanket his opponent to a unanimous decision. That did not happen. He got dropped at one point. He was actually very competitive in the wrestling, and he probably Duran should have probably won this fight. But he did get a point taken for grabbing the cage. But Danny Sabatello grabbed the cage as well, never got a point taken. So yeah, it was just a strange fight. Really shows that, Danny Sabatello, one-time Bellator title challenger, is now fighting unknowns and going to draws with them. It's kind of a weird career trajectory, and wouldn't be surprised if Danny Sabatello, we don't see him much in the coming years.
Yeah, I think he's fully dusted, and he got pretty lucky with this result. So he doesn't get kicked out of the PFL, but he's probably going to lose his next one. I'll be honest with you, Skatesman. We then move on. I'm glad I didn't watch it like directly eye to screen. I'm glad I just listened to somebody react to this because I probably would have just stopped watching. We then get a big finish for Biagio Ali Walsh with a round 1 KO of Brian Stapleton. Brutal overhand right puts him down. But honestly, I was impressed by pretty much everything Biagio had on display for as long as this fight lasted. He was super crisp. I really liked his counter striking. His timing in general was very good. And he was catching Brian Stapleton from a lot of different angles and looked pretty good. I know it wasn't the highest caliber of opponent, but definitely looked impressive in victory nonetheless, and very humble in his post-fight interview as well.
I mean, I picked him to get a first-round knockout. It was pretty obvious that was what was going to happen because they're feeding him cans. But, I mean, I'm not going to be impressed with this guy until he, fights somebody of note. And it makes sense why you're such a big Steve Erceg fan, because just getting guys shot up the ladder with easy fights seems to be something that you like a lot. So... good for Ollie Walsh. Good that his mic work was good, and he's a humble guy. That's important in the game. But, PFL likes this guy. They're going to keep pushing him. So
yeah. Well, I'm not saying he should get a title shot just coming off of this. I don't agree with that. But I'm just saying that his performances, for the most part, have been solid. With Erceg,
neither should have Steve Erceg, and that's been proven.
Yeah. Very, very interesting perspective from Idaho Skatesman. And I want to let you know, it wasn't me talking. It was Bedtime MMA talking, not me.
No, I know that you're a super fan of Steve Erceg. This podcast is going to be very painful.
In general?
Oh, yeah. This episode is going to be very painful for you, Mr. Hank the Tank. I got lots to say about one Mr. Steve Erceg. As you can hear from my post-fight rant, and then when we played the video.
Yes. Well, he'll prove you wrong. He'll prove you wrong. He'll be on the Office remake to the U.S. remake, and he'll be a real star. Then we had Brent Primus getting the unanimous decision win over Clay Collard in another fucking boring affair. Clay Collard looks like shit, gets taken down easily, throws with random fucking shit, and then gets taken down for it. His timing's awful. Brent Primus can actually get you down and get the pack. A lot of people are saying he'll get Clay Collard down and then not finish him, and then Collard will get back up in the start of the next round and then throw meaningless shit, and then Primus takes him down. Same old, and for the most part, from what I heard from people, that's pretty much exactly what happens. So what do you have to say
another classic Brent Primus fight. He is a good submission artist, but he's 39 at this point. When I saw this matchup, this is how I picked it to go. It's exactly how it went. But Clay Collard actually looked a lot worse than I thought that he would. And I think he needs to go back to boxing, dude. But you know what? He actually can't get wins there. So couldn't tell you what to do with old Mr. Clay Collard, but just build names off him. Maybe have him fight Steve Erceg at a catch weight.
That's true. Yeah, he should fight Steve Erceg. That's for sure. I think those two would have an absolute banger, bro. Steve Erceg would get the counter on Clay Collard too, man. It show that he has the best boxing in the UFC against a former boxer. Absolutely incredible work from Steve Erceg. It hasn't even happened yet, but I just know he'd win. I know it. Then we move on to Gadzi Rabadanov, Do the Rabadak, absolutely destroying Michael Dufort with surprisingly expert boxing, almost on the level of Steve Erceg, but pretty good nonetheless. He shot a few takedowns, wasn't that effective. When it came to the striking, that's what he mostly relied on, and he was really good at feinting and making Dufort question pretty much everything he tried, and then eventually came in with the big left hook that sat him down, and then absolutely obliterated him on the ground. And what was one of the few surprise fun finishes of the card, in my estimation. Thank God we got a knockout in the later stages of this thing.
Yeah, Michael Dufert, I've never heard of this guy. He was on a pretty good run up to this point in the PFL. And you know what, man? This guy, when he came out, he had a lot of swagger. Looks good, good looking dude. Just coming out there confident, looking good in the first couple minutes. When you see a guy like Gadzi Robotinov about to fight, you think, oh, here we go. Lay and pray, wrestle, fuck. But that wasn't working out so well. So Mr. Robotinov just decided, I'm going to knock this motherfucker out. And that's what he did.
Yeah, he just got bored with his. Even he was getting bored with how he was approaching the fight. So he decided, you know what? I'll just get a finish. What the hell? Once in a blue moon. Give them something to remember. Nobody's got to finish. Why not? I always knew I could get finishes. I just decided to do it now. That's what Robotinov was definitely thinking. And it's not like he's usually boring. He has the potential all along. Just ask Steve Erceg. We then move on to what was the underdog of the card that we, Skatesman and I, predicted would get the win on this PFL card. Dovlet Yagshimuradov beat Rob Wilkinson by unanimous decision. And what was, I wouldn't say it's a war because there was a lot of tit for tat action for the most part, but Dovlet definitely had the more aggressive hits on Rob Wilkinson. He was always pressuring forward. Almost reminded me of Dricus a little bit with how he just wouldn't give up with a line of attack.
Why are we comparing fucking PFL fighters to UFC champs, bro? Stop with that shit, dude. Like Dricus Du Plessis? What?
I'm just comparing the approach in terms of aggression. I just see a guy's style and I think of what.
All right.
Rob Wilkinson wasn't fun. Rob Wilkinson always goes to a split decision. Whenever he throws shit, it's not really all that meaningful. I mean, every once in a while, but for the most part, he doesn't have a lot of power in his shots. Dovlet had the power in his shots, and I think that's what made the difference. And just beat him up over 3 rounds. I don't think this was all that close. Really good underdog for us to pick.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that you didn't think it was all that close, and neither did I. And that was reflective in the judges' scorecards, all 30-27 to Rob Wilkinson, to the huge dismay of a lot of the viewers and the Rush Hour podcast that I was watching the City Life, because Rush Hour hates PFL. He will never cover another show with them. But in the City Life chat, everybody was like, fucking Rob Wilkinson won this UD split decision to Wilkinson. What they're forgetting is that Dovletstan Yagshimuradov, though he is sort of undersized for 205, and Rob Wilkinson was coming up from 185, he was knocking dudes out until he got popped for steroids, and now he's a much more tentative fighter. And Dovletstan Yagshimuradov can wrestle, but he's a fantastic kickboxer. He throws a lot of good spinny shit, unlike Dricus Du Plessis. Sorry. But yeah, he's a fantastic kickboxer, good striker. But he's not like the most powerful dude. So that's why this fight was a little bit slow paced. As any 205, terrible weight class, worst weight class in the whole fucking sport, damn near, would be. But I like Dovletstan Yagshimuradov. Picked him to win by decision, and that's exactly what happened.
Nice. Well, it was a good win, but overall the card quality wasn't all that great, so it needed a main event that would deliver.
Oh, I just want to say quickly, a lot of people were saying that fight was a robbery.
What, Dovlet beating Rob?
Yeah, yes.
That's bullshit. That's stupid.
That's complete dumb bullshit, and people just lost money because they bet on Rob Wilkinson.
They had their fucking rose tinted glasses.
They would have listened to the show. They would have known not to bet on Rob Wilkinson.
Exactly. They should all subscribe to SkateTank MMA. All even the people who run the PFL should hang out in our chat and say weird things, because that'd be great. I love the PFL so much. And then we needed a fun main event to get us through the fucking slog and at least end this on a high note. I thought it was an all right card going into this, but then they had a really good main event between Impa Kasunganai and Josh Silveira, a big back and forth action. I mean, a few takedowns were shot from Silveira, but for the most part, just like the last fight, it was on the feet. And these two went to fucking war. Big back and forth action, cracking each other with big shots. But of course, you can't. You very rarely win the stand-up battle against Impa Kasunganai because he's got the heart of a lion and he's just got more power in my opinion, and made it count. So like there were times he was getting rocked, and then he'd in return just hit Josh Silveira with something big that fucking wobble him, you guys. He was wobbled. So Impa Kasanganay definitely won 2 out of the 3 rounds. It was close until it wasn't. I think Josh Silveira's best stuff came in like the first half of the fight. As it went on, Impa just showed that he had the striking supremacy, and that showed. And now he will be fighting in for the $1 million once again. Could be a back-to-back winner for the first time in his weight division's history in the PFL. What an incredible, prestigious accomplishment, but good fight nonetheless. I was thoroughly entertained, and so was my dad when he was watching. So good fight.
Glad the pops got to watch some MMA with you. That's what's up, dude.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, when I saw this fight, I said,
"Be right back."
I said, we have Izzy versus DDP at home, and that's exactly what this was. It was a Walmart version of that, but they came out really hot in the first round. And towards the second, third round, Josh Silveira showed, that he doesn't have as much experience at the highest level like Impa Kasanganay does, though he is a UFC washout. But yeah, either way, that experience in the UFC is important. And Impa Kasanganay is slowly becoming like one of these vets of the game, man. And he showed it in this fight, taking over the fight in the last 2 rounds. Good performance by him. But yeah, like I said, we have Izzy versus DDP at home, and that's what this fight was.
Skatesman, why are you comparing PFL fighters to UFC fighters? How could you, man? That's crazy. That's too much, I gotta tell you.
No, it's not a comparison. It's more me saying this was like the Wish version of DDP versus Izzy, like on paper, like a wrestler versus striker. One of them's black. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly. I'm seeing it, man.
I'm not comparing. I'm not saying, Davletstan Yagshamordov fights just like Dricus Du Plessis. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah. You also had the on paper Anthony Smith moment. Yeah, you should have caught yourself before you said it. So that's an.
And by the way, what is up, Cool Breeze? Good to see you, my friend.
All right, we got the on paper counter 1. There we go. We got to add that as a counter because it happens every once in a while. You see.
I'm just saying, like the visual in the cage. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, this is like fucking DDP versus Izzy, like on at home. We have it at home. We don't need to buy UFC 305. We have this at home.
It's like the Peter Parker meme where he's like, oh, what do I see? Let me put on my glasses. No.
Yeah. That's not Izzy versus DDP. That's fucking Impa Kasanganay versus Josh Silveira.
What a horrific surprise. We then move on. Let's talk a little bit about the boxing card that transpired before we get to the UFC, the main event of the evening. There wasn't a lot of stuff that you could call highlights, but there was enough that I should share because I had some locks riding on this thing. Let's just start off with my lock, Abdullah Mason, getting the round 2 stoppage of Mike Ohan Jr. I predicted him by round 4 KO, but he did it even faster than I thought he would, which is always a good sign when my locks deliver even more than I think they will. So he got the quick stoppage. Good for Abdullah Mason.
Man, I think that we got to stop praising ourselves because I picked this to get finished in round 1. It was round 2. We can't heap any praise on ourselves for picking like a minus 5,000 favorite to get a KO. And I'm sick of people saying, not just, us, but like people being like, oh, look, I fucking predicted this fight. Perfect. It's like, dude, the guy's fucking minus 5,000. It's a top rank card. Of course he was going to knock the guy out. Duh.
Listen, Skatesman, the locks are all I have, man. You're beating me in the overall pick.
That's like saying, my lock is that the grass is going to be green tomorrow.
Well, is it? I mean, it depends on the weather, Skatesman. Like, are we dealing with a storm? Is it changed from, spring to summer? You don't know.
Okay, sorry. It's like saying, hey, my lock is that titties are still going to be awesome tomorrow.
Well, there are people of different persuasions, Skatesman. I mean, some of
No. That's one thing constant in the world: death, taxes, and tits being awesome.
Okay. Well, I definitely put that on a t-shirt for like a slogan.
I mean, I'm just saying though, like even if you're, if you swing the other way, like Izzy, or like Izzy, you're into, things of a different species. Doesn't matter, man. Tits are always going to be great. Sorry, It's just true.
True that.
And picking, and minus 5,000 favorites on top rank cards are always going to get it done. Because I've been saying for years that top rank is a fucking place to hide out. Abdullah Mason's a guy they want to push. He's a young kid. They're going to feed him a can to knock out. That's what this is.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. What also makes sense is Osleis Iglesias, the man who got that viral knockout of that one dude who just like seized up on the floor. Remember that? And it was just fucking complete ragdoll knockout. And then he did a little dance during that to the music. That was
No, I didn't see that. I don't really care.
Well, it was very good, Skatesman. You should go and watch it, damn it.
All right, I'll check it out.
He got a round 2 KO of Sena Akbeko. I was very happy with this result. As this dude's this Cuban boxer's power is second to none. It's fucking crazy. It is delivering horrifying results. And of course, I wanted to see more of that, and that's exactly what happened. So I can't wait to see this guy absolutely send another boxer into convulsions very soon. Terrible thing for me. And then we had Guido Vianello defeating Arslanbek Makhmudov. Shocking result. He hit him with the perfect shot. Although I will say that Guido was also doing well in the fight in general. He was able to hit him in the eye, and that caused the referee stoppage. But crazy results. Happy for Guido. Was not seeing this result in a million years, but the Italian little Guido.
Yeah, I got to eat some crow because I picked Arslanbek Makhmudov. I thought the top. What?
Eat that crow, Chael.
Yeah. I was picking Arslanbek Makhmudov. I thought that or Makhmudov, whatever the fuck his name is. I thought that they were giving him a soft layup, but shit. I was like, dude, Italian heavyweight, bro. What is this, Rocky? Like, what the fuck? There's no Italian heavyweights. Turns out I was wrong. Guido looked great, and I found out that Arslanbek definitely is on the spectrum. He has a bad twitch. Like every time he gets hit or something in between rounds, he's always twitching around. This guy's on the spectrum, and he's he's a fraud. And I'm glad that he finally got his comeuppance because when he got knocked out by Ajit Kabiel, who is a very legit guy, I was like, dude, it's whatever, But no, turns out that he's on the spectrum. This guy can't fucking box. He's got a good right hand. That's it.
How dare Makhmudov be on the spectrum? And I know after Guido won, he was definitely raising up that belt and being, "Hey, yo, Adrian, I did it!" For all the little Italians out there, represent. And then we go on to our main event for the ever prestigious WBC Continental America Super Middleweight title. Say that 5 times fast. We got Christian and Billy getting the unanimous decision win over Sergey Derevianchenko. I think we were all pretty much expecting this result based on how Derevianchenko has been performing his last 3 or 4 fights. Guy can put on a good scrap for sure, but he can never really get the big one done. That's what she said. And Billy beat the crap out of Derevianchenko. Derevianchenko had moments where he was able to catch him, Billy, with something. And the crowd was going, "Wow, he caught him!" But didn't really matter all that much. And for the most part, it was just Billy beating the shit out of Sergey because his striking defense is not very good, and he's like the Marvin Vettori of boxing, where he's tough, he's got a chin. Congratulations, but you're not going to be anything special, especially at this phase in life. So, for Derevianchenko.
Makhmudov was my guy, but now I turn my back on him. Same. I'm right there with you. As far as Billy goes, Sergey Derevianchenko is a vet. He's fought everybody of note in the super middleweight division. A legend in the sport. Maybe not a Hall of Famer, but legend nonetheless. As you said, he's got a hell of a chin. Never been knocked out. But the problem with your take and Cool Breeze's take, you're forgetting, is that though he was brought in here to be a punching bag for Billy, and largely he was, the man had one hand. He was getting dominated throughout the first 3 rounds into the 4th, and then he rallied back. But at some point in the corner between the 4th and 5th round, it was revealed that one of his arms was blown out. Wow. I believe his left, and the guy fought with one arm and outboxed Billy in certain spots.
That's true.
Took some rounds off of him, and Billy looked like he didn't really know what to do because Derevianchenko's a fucking Is he Ukrainian? What the fuck? Is he from Kazakhstan?
Yeah, that looks like Ukraine to me.
Yeah, he's a Ukrainian Terminator, and this guy can't fucking be finished, even
Nope.
by the number one, like, one of the top dudes at super middleweight right now, outside of Canelo Alvarez. And he couldn't fucking finish a one-armed old vet, dude. That's embarrassing to me, and I think we got to pump the brakes a little bit on Billy's ceiling. And by the way, what's up, Juice Man? He says, Varial heel, back Smith, Trey bomb out. That would be fucking impossible. But I like it. I like the skate tricks. Keep them rolling.
I think Juiceman was trying to say Derevianchenko's name, but it didn't work out as he was.
No, he's speaking to me in skateboarding terms. What he's saying is that we need to move on to UFC analysis because he hates boxing.
I see. Makes all the sense in the world. But it seems like Christian and Billy is sort of a fraud check waiting to happen. Are you agreeing with that, Skatesman?
No, I'm just saying that it's good that he's at top rank because he can continue to hide out at top rank, and he should, because he's not looking super good. The problem is I don't know exactly how old he is. He's not getting any younger. And, it could just be that this was a bad style matchup, but this guy needs finishes and didn't get one here as he was expected to. He was a huge favorite in this fight, and just kind of ridiculous to me that you couldn't put away one-armed old-ass Derevianchenko.
Yeah, that's a little embarrassing. Speaking of embarrassing, we got my boy, Stuart Nickel. I thought he would get the job done. Trust. He'd get the submission in round 2. Easy, man. And he was so close, like Elsa. And he got on the back of Jesus Aguilar, but unfortunately, he slipped forward too quickly. That's what she said. And ended up on bottom. And then Jesus Aguilar, he got the freaking guillotine choke and tapped out that little Stuart little bitch. It's a real shame. Very exciting fight, but this was my first sign that my picks were probably not going to go very well in this pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was a sign that like the picks weren't going to go very well. I think it was just a sign that we were going to get a crazy card, honestly, because Stuart Nickel was a huge favorite. Jesus Aguilar fought well. A lot of people counted him out because he just didn't look that great in his fights. But who had Jesus Aguilar getting the submission on their bingo card? I don't think anybody really did.
It seems like Cool Breeze is vouching a little bit for Billy and saying, "Oh
no, I think that's a fair assessment because Sergey's never been knocked out, but the guy had one fucking arm, dude. Come on, and he was still outboxing in Billy in certain spots."
Yeah. And then we got a good old Kobe Wiggle here to join the gang as well. SkateTank crew, Skate and Hank, and Kobe Wiggle. We watched the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson press conference. I've seen bits and pieces of their promo packages and like them in the chair.
Yeah, unlike Hank the Tank, I'm not a wrestling fan or WWE fan, so I don't give a shit about that circus bullshit.
Well, it was Jake Paul who was there, not Logan. So it's actually not. It's not wrestling, but it is close to wrestling, as close as possible. But for a more like detailed breakdown of this fight, Stuart Nickel was obviously doing the better when it came to like the grappling and getting good positions. But unfortunately, I think he showed his youth and inexperience here because he hopped on the back of Jesus Aguilar the second time. And then in his, need to get a finish, I think he jumped too forward. And that's what ended up costing him everything. Jesus Aguilar took full advantage. And I'm actually very impressed with Aguilar's performance here in that he thought quickly on his feet. And he took like grabbing a guy just, getting up to his feet and turned that into a guillotine, which I actually think was pretty impressive. And he got the tap relatively quickly. Might be smart to employ guillotines against guys who are more inexperienced in the UFC because they might tap to those guillotines easier than guys who have been around the block. But I did not know that Jesus Aguilar had it in him to pull off a submission, but he keeps on surprising me, man. So I might not.
Yeah, and I actually picked him to win until the very convincing Hank the Tank convinced me to pick Stuart Nickel. So if anything, there's that, man. You got a hell of a way with words, and I wasn't really sure what was going to happen in the fight, but I definitely did not see Jesus Aguilar getting a sub.
I definitely have
the most pressing question after this fight
question.
is Jesus Aguilar eligible for the Gilly Goose Gang?
I think so, man, because the first thing he did was he could have been silly, but instead he jumped the Gilly. And 100%. He got it. Yeah.
100%, man, and I think I'm going to talk to the board of the Gilly Goose Gang and put in a request that Jesus Aguilar be let on.
Yeah, as long as it's not run by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, I think he gets in.
No, I think it's run by Dustin Poirier. If it was run by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Turkey Al-Sheikh would have already been inducted into there.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you know who isn't in the Gilly Goose Gang anymore? Gamrot. Part of Dustin Poirier's team. Not after that loss to Dan Hooker, damn it. If anything, Hooker was silly and he jumped the Gilly. You didn't do shit.
Yeah, I don't think that the Gamrot has a guillotine finish on his record.
No.
Nice try.
Yeah, I don't think he has a finish. But good old Juiceman, he agrees with Skatesman. It's circus bullshit. Yeah, Cirque du Bullshit. And Cool Breeze also said Floyd and John Gotti. And those are some names for sure.
No, it's an exhibition fight that's up and coming.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Skatesman. I do have a way with words, especially when they're typed out on a page and I get to read them like it's beat poetry. You know, I'm very good at that. But we move on to beyond written word to Song Kenan getting a unanimous decision win over Ricky Glenn. Honestly, a little bit of a disappointing performance from Song Kenan. I expected him to get the round 2 knockout, and there were times that he did stumble Ricky Glenn, but what I got to learn about Song Kenan is that he does not have a killer instinct whatsoever. He will hit someone with a big shot and then not follow up on it immediately afterwards and keep sparring, dude, and keep his hands down as well. Like, oh, yeah, come on, hit me. You know, he's got that, oh, let's have a fight of the night kind of mentality instead of, oh, I got him hurt. I should go in with a flurry of punches and finish this fucking geriatric old man.
Yeah, I mean,
what
you're forgetting is this was the battle of who is less washed.
Yeah.
And we should have been more privy to that heading into the fight and just know that these guys are both terrible and washed. And I should have picked this to go to decision. Instead, I picked it to go knockout. But underrated Ricky Glenn a little bit and overrated Song Kenan a little bit. Shit happens. And these things happen in MMA.
They do?
Yes.
Okay, I did not know that. Thank you for enlightening me about that.
Well,
subject.
I don't know if you've ever heard that line. It was after the fucking Diaz Scrap Pack fought on there was a fucking in the cage brawl. I think it wasn't Elite XC, but it was some random regional show, and it actually got their TV rights pulled. So
interesting.
A famous ESPN broadcaster was on the call, and was his famous line from that. So,
very interesting. Yeah. But Song Kenan, he is more washed than I thought he was. In terms of like answering the question, who's more washed between the two of these guys? They're both equally fucking washed. One of them is just a little bit better. That's the answer at the end of the day. Speaking of being overconfident about our picks and overrating them, Tom Nolan. He every time this motherfucker hit Alex Reyes with the 1-2, he wobbled him. But he couldn't put 1-2s together and have conventional boxing like an MMA, like someone with MMA experience. He instead had to do a big spin kick. Whoa! And then he had to do a reverse elbow. Ooh! He'll get a finish for sure. And almost every single one of those either hit the guard or connected on Alex Reyes and didn't knock him out. And this was a very frustrating experience for me, for the most part, because I saw the key path to victory and Tom Nolan hardly ever followed it. And even when he did, like Song Kenan, he didn't follow up on it. So he did not get the flashy finish that he wanted in front of the Aussie crowd. Speaking of which, a lot of these Aussie fighters didn't get the finish they wanted in front of the Aussie crowd. It's sort of a pattern for the night. But Tom Nolan, man, I underrated him going into this fight, rightfully so, and said, this guy is a fucking neck that's like, rock'em sock'em robots. It's literally fucking fused together. He cannot move his head to save his fucking life like Ronda Rousey. His striking defense is shit. And overall, he looks like Christian Leroy Duncan in that he's just fucking spazzing all the time without a lot of impact. So he proved me right, and I should have underrated him more and thought that I'm actually shocked he didn't get knocked out by Alex Reyes, to be honest, because if it exits the fucking first round, Tom Nolan is ripe to get fucking finished. But lucky enough for him, that didn't happen, and Alex Reyes is exactly as shit as we think he is. So, I got the execution wrong again. I got the method of victory wrong again.
Yeah, the biggest problem that Tom Nolan faces, I actually don't think that he like if we were playing Skyrim, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like his stats are good, but his speed, he is one of the slowest lightweights I think I've ever seen in the UFC. Every time he threw a spin kick, it was just so slow. And like, I don't even think that like he was tired or anything. I literally think that this guy just does not have good hand speed or striking speed. No. If he was like a creative character in the UFC, I would take some of the strength down and the grappling ability and just bump that speed stat up, dude. Because this guy is again one of the slowest guys I've ever seen at lightweight, and it's going to cause him a lot of problems because you can't be that slow at lightweight. Maybe at heavyweight it works, but dude, this guy. Fuck, man. And I'm going to fade him against any other decent striker because it's really just the speed of Tom Nolan is very bad.
Yeah. And also he's just very tall and lanky, like fucking Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. But that's not translating to, he's like a Anderson Silva where he's tall and he's long and he's fast too.
Yeah, he has no speed.
Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly what you need when you're that fucking tall. But he does not have that whatsoever. And that's going to be his detriment going into, I think, any other fight that isn't involving Alex Reyes. So I am definitely going to fade Tom Nolan in his next fight. I was fucking pissed at this kid. He's like 20 something years old and he's that slow already. This dude's going to have a horrific later half of his career. Cool Breeze asks, is MVP still a thing? As in, is he still popular or of relevance at all?
I like MVP.
Yeah, I like MVP too, but he didn't have the best performance against Ian Gary. He outstruck him in moments, but for the most part, Ian Gary figured out his weakness and took advantage of it. So styles make fights. Maybe he'll look better in his next one, But we move on from another fucking boring decision to thankfully one that didn't go to a decision, but came very, very close to. And this is exactly how I predicted it going. With Jack Jenkins scoring the round 3 KO. Au contraire, mon ami. I did, in fact, pick round 3 KO. And that is why I got 125.
I think that you picked round 2 on the podcast.
Nah, I'm pretty sure I didn't. I'm pretty sure I didn't Idaho skate.
Well, either way, it was pretty obvious that Herbert Burns, I mean, he has a good first round. Second round is when he starts to fall off a cliff. And by the third round, he's completely gassed. And it's hilarious that he lost this fight in the fashion that he did. Because it was the same exact way he lost his last fight. Refusing to get up. It was funny because you could just see it coming. Because he was getting slower and slower on the get up game. And by the end of the fight, he literally just did not get up. So that's a TKO. And just fucking embarrassing, and he should be cut. Surprised he wasn't cut already. I mean, if you get up, if you just refuse to get up like Nick Diaz after Robbie Lawler just like beat the hell out of him, you should be cut from the UFC, especially as young.
Crap. Well, you're right, Skatesman. You're fucking wise.
Yeah, I know I'm right. I'm always right. I'm trying to tell you this. So actually, you got even less points. Should have been even lower on the Tabology rankings. That's why you need to save your picks next time. But anyway, like I said, by the third round, Herbert Burns is just washed and done. He has no cardio. He's got skills, but man, this guy needs to be cut. Go back to the regionals. Ryzen probably needs some featherweights, so send him there. Have more interesting fights there.
Yeah. I think Jack Jenkins looked all right in this fight. There was nothing that impressed me too much, but it's Herbert Burns, so he's going to react how Herbert Burns is to getting hit by any sort of offense whatsoever. Terrible gas taken frail. Once he gets hits and he's down to the floor, he does not get back up. And that's exactly what happened. But Jack Jenkins, he should have gotten him out of there earlier, in my opinion. I think he could have easily beaten him in round 2, but instead he chose round 3 to do it. And it wasn't even through Jack Jenkins.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't even choose to do it. Like, Herbert Burns just quit. And that's what I'm saying is like, why would you choose to finish Herbert Burns early when you know he's just going to quit by the third round? All you got to do is wait for him to pull guard, and then you just get up, and that's going to fucking gas him out. He's going to gas him.
Exactly.
Herbert Burns lost this fight. He knocked himself out. Let's be totally honest. And he should be cut.
I mean, Herbert Burns in general is a self-sabotager, so good riddance. Fucking cut him. I want to see it on that one Twitter page that shows who's in and out of the UFC. I hope he's gone. I'm actually going to check that Twitter page after this. We then move on to Casey O'Neill against Luana Santos. Very much a surprise for me. I think Skatesman and I both thought that Luana Santos would win this thing. Skatesman by decision, me by finish, but neither of those things happened. And Casey O'Neill, for the most part, just stuffed almost every takedown that Luana Santos tried, and then just basically beat the shit out of her on the feet. And honestly, like, Santos didn't even really try to grapple all that much. As soon as she got her takedown stuffed once, she was like, okay, that's it. It's not going to work out. And she basically denied any belief in her grappling ability. And she's just shit on the feet. So O'Neill took advantage of that. Bless you, Skatesman. But Casey O'Neill turned back.
I'm allergic to the people saying that Casey O'Neill is too weak to compete in this weight class. This was not a surprise to me. I was picking Luana Santos tentatively because I really like Casey O'Neill. And she showed me that her boxing has improved. And if you're making improvements for 26, that's fucking dangerous. You know, it's a dangerous thing. I think that Casey O'Neill's looking good. Is she going to be a champion, even a top 5 in this weight class? That remains to be seen. But Luana Santos is a fantastic way. Getting a win over Luana Santos, that is a fantastic way to break a 2-fight losing streak. Very happy for Casey O'Neill. And this isn't really a bad loss for Luana Santos because she took this on a month's notice, or shit, not even a month's notice. Had to fly all the way to Australia. And though she didn't really do a lot in the fight, she's 24 years old, man. She's got plenty of room to improve.
True. Juiceman says UFC Noche going up against Duck Nello versus Bumlonga. Who wins in the pay-per-view?
As far as buys?
Pay-per-view numbers?
Probably, I mean, dude, listen. When you talk about Canelo, and you talk about who is the biggest star in boxing, draw-wise, it's Canelo, guys. I hate to tell you this, but it is Canelo. Yeah. Unless we're talking Tyson Fury versus Usyk on a Turkey Al-Sheikh fucking dream card. It's Canelo. And the UFC doesn't try very hard, hence why the 3 top fights in that card are good. Noche, that is, and the rest of the card is meh. It's gonna be Canelo all day, but we're not talking about like drastic numbers. And honestly, Juice Man, I liked your question just to literally shit on Canelo. But we're not in the pay-per-view era anymore, dude. Pay-per-view guys don't mean shit.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. We wouldn't even know the answer to that question since neither boxing nor mixed martial arts actually reveals the pay-per-view numbers.
No, boxing does. I don't know where you're getting that information. The UFC could. They just refuse not to.
Okay. Well, we won't know the real answer because Dana will continue to pretend that Sean O'Malley is any sort of draw in a main event. And Kenny Bigham's asks, he wants Bo Nickel versus Israel Adesanya. And he probably takes him down. I don't know what he does on top, whether he submits him. But
yeah, we're going to talk about that fight later. But good to see you, Kenny Bigham's, or whatever the fuck your name really is.
Yeah, it changes every month. I think he's got a split personality. Then we got another, honestly, pretty mid fight. Really annoying to watch between Ricardo Ramos and Josh Kalibau. We both picked Josh Kalibau to win by decision, but Josh Kalibau has the fight IQ of a piece of fucking coral because he had many openings to destroy the legs of Ricardo Ramos. He could tell that he was fucking hurt in terms of the leg, but he spent a lot of his time just fucking circling around Ricardo Ramos while he was on his back, playing around the rosy. And then finally Ramos got up when there was 1 minute left in the fight. And basically Josh Kalibau allowed Ricardo Ramos to take advantage of the third round and beat him up more in the third round. So Josh Kalibau's dumb fucking fight IQ prevails, and he loses it by split decision. What annoyed me the most was that Josh Kalibau was fucking hugging and kissing with his coach like he'd already won and had a big, dumb fucking grin on his face the entire time that the decision was being made. And so I was thinking to myself, God, I hope he loses this. I hope he loses this decision. I want to see that smile fucking fade from his face and him look like a fucking tard for doing all that celebrating before the decision even came in. And that's exactly what happened, and he looked like an idiot. So even though my pick lost, I'm happy.
I completely disagree with your take on this fight. You in particular are very angry with Josh Kulabau, and I understand that. You picked him to win. I thought that the fight could have went either way, but ultimately, Josh Kulabau not doing enough in that third round is what lost him this fight. In the second round, he drops Ricardo Ramos, hurts him with a leg kick, and instead of playing guard with Ricardo Ramos, or potentially playing guard with Ricardo Ramos, he decided to circle him and throw some good punches that were very effective. Could have even been a 10-8 round in that second round. But I think that was due to the fact that he was in an RNC for a majority of the first round. But, getting up, Ricardo Ramos getting up, and then Kulabau not doing very much and just kind of taunting him is what lost him this fight. I don't think he's a retard with just negative fight IQ. I think that's a little harsh. He's a young fighter that's still developing his stand-up skills, which actually looked much improved in this fight until he just decided to coast. And that's really what lost him this fight. I don't think this is an indictment on Kulabau's career as a whole. Not to mention the fact that after the fight, he went to the commentators and he said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't do enough in this fight," and he was very emotional. So I think him being cheered up by his coach is probably what made him, be more happy at the end of the fight. And again, like I said, I think there's a case that he could have won this fight, but he totally, lost it in my eyes because he just didn't do enough. He just decided to taunt Ramos rather than fight him in the third round.
Yeah. And I'm allowed to say that he's a sort of a dumbass for doing that. And then after the fight, I don't think it was to cheer him up, dude. I think they legitimately thought that they won because as soon as they said that there was a split decision and one judge gave it to Ramos, the smile fucking faded from his face, dude. He thought he had it in the bag. So I just feel like
it's just funny because if I call the wrong fighter dumb or retarded, I get roasted by you and you just start cussing me out. But no, I think that you're totally fair to have that assessment of the fight. And he should have done more and definitely would have got a UD.
Yeah, it's a shame. We then move on to Valter Walker versus Junior Tafa. It went
a lot of drama in this one.
yeah, during and after. I'm happy that I got this pick right. Did not expect it to go how it went whatsoever, but Junior Tafa, I did expect him to throw some stuff on the feet. Oh my God, he hit Valter. Wow, he's totally going to get the finish. And then Valter Walker would pull a fucking Carl Williams and immediately shoot for a takedown and get him down. And for the most part, that's what happened in this fight. But then I underestimated Valter Walker's ability to get a fucking heel hook. I thought that Valter Walker wouldn't have any offense on top whatsoever. But now I know he's actually improving in his jiu-jitsu. Like we saw some of that with the fight footage he had before he entered the UFC. He is a very talented grappler. So if he was going to get a finish, it was going to be by submission because the man does not know how to punch. And so he took full advantage of his Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills and got the heel hook. And then Junior Tafa, I haven't watched the footage, so I haven't heard Tafa scream, but people who did hear the audio told me that he did let out a scream or like an, "Oh, fuck." And then the referee stopped it. Somewhat controversial, but it was a verbal tap.
It wasn't an "oh fuck," dude. He literally was like, "Ah!" like screaming out in pain.
Well, there you go. The referee absolutely could stop it in that case. And Junior Tafa was a bitter fucking sore loser, dude. Absolutely annoying. Junior, little Junior. He had a fucking temper tantrum. And then went up to Valter Walker as all the officials and the judges and the teams were coming in, and they separated them, even though there's a little bit of heat. And then Junior Tafa fucking smacked Valter Walker in the face for winning, and then flipped him off as Bruce Buffer was calling the winner. Fuck Junior Tafa, cut him from the UFC, little fucking brat that is completely uncalled for, and you're just a bitch in general. Fuck off.
I don't know about calling fighters bitches, but this fight was so tough to pick, and I was going back and forth on it so much because we saw with Denise and Carl Williams, a fight that you actually just mentioned, that the striker, won against the grappler. And so I was like, it's Australia. I've been seeing some weird, funny shit going on with hometown favorites. I don't know if Junior Hoffa was a favorite here, but just the kickboxer versus the grappler, classic striker versus grappler matchup. And Junior Hoffa was doing Junior Hoffa things until he wasn't, and he got taken down. This guy has no grappling, like zero at all. Just like Tom Nolan has zero speed. Junior Hoffa has no grappling. And who gets heel hooked in the UFC anymore these days? What is this, Ryzen? Come on, man.
Yeah, I know.
He screams out in pain. The ref stops the fight, which is totally acceptable in the rule set. People were saying, "Oh, it's bullshit, man. What a robbery!" Blah blah blah. You talked about the post-fight antics. What I think is most important from the post-fight is that Valter Walker, man, fucking fantastic mic work, man. He calls out the older brother, Justin Hoffa, and he looks like an absolute monster. He's just screaming into the microphone. Fantastic work from Valter Walker.
DC's trying to get the fucking spittle out of his eye from Valter Walker screaming so badly. There's some spit on the fucking camera. It's gone everywhere. That's why I posted a saliva like emoji right next to Walker's face in the thumbnail. Is that man does not know how to talk without a little bit of slobber coming out. It was very interesting.
I think that give him what he wants, man. Have him fight the other Hoffa, bro. Cut Justin Hoffa from the UFC. Why isn't this guy fighting in K1 or Glory, dude? Like, what is he even doing in the UFC? It makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. They're fucking useless once they're on their back.
Well,
so
yeah, because he's got good kickboxing, but this guy has zero grappling. What is he even doing?
Yeah.
Well,
so I'm glad
I know what he's doing. You don't make a lot of money in kickboxing. The pay scale in MMA or in combat sports, it goes Lethwei, Muay Thai, probably somewhere in there is grappling in between those two. And then kickboxing, MMA, and then boxing. So he's going to make more money in MMA, but this guy's just terrible at it. So he should go to kickboxing, probably have more wins, and probably even make more money.
Yeah, and I'm actually happy that Valter Walker won this, man. I actually felt happy
and I
for
picked
him.
Justin Hoffa to get the knockout.
I still think that What was that?
Oh, I picked Justin Hoffa to get the knockout.
Let's move on.
It is what it is. Good for Valter Walker. Give him what he wants.
But I still think his skill level is pretty low, and he doesn't have a very high ceiling. But
that was the thing coming into this fight, dude. The major thing that made me pick Justin Hoffa was he lost to Lucas Brzeski, dude, like the worst fighter of all time.
No. Yeah, bad. But he got his moment of glory while it lasted. Good for him. We then move on to Carlos Prates against Leech, Li Jingliang. Very sad result, in my opinion. I sort of saw it coming. We both did. But Carlos Prates, I was expecting him to look a little better than he did in this fight, but he still got it done. My problems with him in this fight were very similar to the problems that I had with Tom Nolan, where he has a lot of nice flair and like unorthodox striking, but when it comes to actual conventional boxing, that's how he gets it done. And I was sort of complaining mid-fight that you're throwing these 1-2s and they are landing on him and he's getting rocked every time you throw it. Why don't you throw it more? And then almost immediately afterwards, and immediately afterwards, Carlos Prates throws the 1-2 and it knocks out Li Jingliang. So it's good for me to know that he's sort of a quick learner and that he adjusted on the fly really well. But I still really like Carlos Prates' unorthodox, like Muay Thai kind of style, but it was not needed for this one. His boxing was just better. He was quicker and he's got more power in his hands than the Leech Li Jingliang at this point in his career. But what a sad way to go out for the Leech, man. They got to give him sort of a layup after this.
Yeah, I think you broke down the fight really well. I picked it to go to round 2. From the Leech side of things, when he was able to walk Prates, put pressure on him and land combos, he was doing really well. Prates' defensive countering ability was definitely lacking in this fight. yeah, when he was moving forward on the Leech and hurting him with that left hand that just never missed, that's what really got it done. And he finally sleeps him with a left hook. A lot of people were telling me that I was being a little too harsh on the Leech because, as you said, this was a sad fight to watch, and he just did not look like himself in there. As we all know, we broke it down in the pre-show. This guy's coming off a long layoff of back surgery. That weird ass fucking card with Daniel Rodriguez, where he had to fight a guy 10 pounds heavier than him. But I think that the Leech is just about cooked. A lot of people were saying, "No, man, Prates is a monster." That could be true, but to me, I'm seeing signs of a washed fighter in the Leech. He's not getting any younger. What do you want next for Carlos Prates?
I think he deserves a fight with somebody either right outside the welterweight rankings or someone in the top 15, in my opinion. I think he's that talented that he does deserve someone ranked. But do you agree?
Yeah, I was thinking after watching live, I'm like, give him Jeff Neal.
Yeah, that would be a really good fight between those two. But isn't he booked against Buckley or something?
Yeah,
I thought he was.
Unfortunately, I don't have my computer, so I can't see who's booked against who. But yeah, just somebody like a Jeff Neal type, somewhere around that range. Somebody who's not booked. He's ready for it, man. Knocking out the Leech, even though I think he's washed, which we didn't know heading into this fight. Right. Fucking fantastic performance from Prates, and it was his birthday. So happy birthday to Carlos Prates, and I hope he gets to moke a lot of cigahettes.
Well, he actually had a whole pack of them during his post-fight press conference. Like, somebody have a light? Anybody? I need the lighter for this man. If only someone had given him a fucking lighter, dude. That would have been another fucking meat. You know what this sort of reminds me of? It's like Tai Tuivasa with the shoey, where it's like you want to see it happen after he gets the finish.
Yeah, that would be dope, dude. Someone just like tosses him a cig and a fucking lighter, and he just smokes a cigarette on the cage after his fucking opponent's corpse is on the ground. That would be fucking awesome.
Yeah, he should definitely plan for something like that in his next fight.
That needs to be a thing.
Yeah,
and it's way less disgusting, even though cigarettes are bad, obviously. Way less disgusting than drinking a fucking beer out of a shoe. Come on.
Yeah. That's more disgusting on the inside than it is on the outside. But he should do it like... I
disagree.
You should do it on a Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, give me a beer. Give me another beer. Just fucking down it. Yeah, that'd be great. But
he packing the cigarettes on his head, and then he lights one up afterwards.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, that needs to be a thing. Let's do that.
I'm looking at the rankings right now. So there's Randy Rude Boy Brown.
Ooh,
there's Vicente.
That's the fight. That's the fight right
Randy
there.
Brown?
Rude Boy Brown versus Prates for sure.
That sounds good to me.
Shit, perfect. That could be an undercard on like a road show or like opener of the main card or featured fight.
Nice. Well, book it, Dana Red.
Book it.
Juiceman says the shoey thing never made any sense. That's fucking nasty as fuck. Well, it made him a star, didn't he? As long as it lasted, So got to give him credit for inventing the shoey and making it work.
I don't think the shoeys made him a star. I think the knockouts did. But we're going on a tangent.
All right. Then we move on to honestly it was the second saddest moment of the card when Jairzinho actually no. There is a number one, and we will get to that.
Yeah. I guess say, don't make me remind you. Well, we're gonna get to it soon enough.
This is the third saddest moment of the card when Jairzinho Rozenstruik just beat the shit out of Tai Tuivasa. There really wasn't, I think, a big major moment of success from Tai Tuivasa. He just fucking swung at Jairzinho on occasion, and not even that, dude. Tai looked fucking washed. He looked like the pop in his shots was just gone. He looked like he had like zero energy. Rozenstruik was kicking the shit out of his, beating him up on the feet, and Tai had nothing for him. He had absolutely nothing for him. He should actually just retire and go back to his fucking beer company or something and just stick to that.
Man, dude, if Hank the Tank picks you to win a fight in a certain way and you don't do it, he fucking just disowns you and you're just nothing to him anymore. It's brutal, dude.
Yeah. Well, I'm just telling the truth. Tai's fucking washed. He looked washed from start to finish. There wasn't one round where well, if you're not one of the judges.
We can talk about that here in a second, but I knew Tai was washed heading into this. I knew that there was a chance though that he could land a big bomb. That's why I told you guys, round 1 knockout for Tuivasa or decision win for Rozenstruik. He's not the brawler, dude. He's got mad kickboxing fights on his fucking resume. Yeah, credit to Jairzinho getting it done, staying safe, having a nice brawl with Ty. Every time they would like clash together and Ty would be in that dangerous, close boxing range. Rozenstruik just tie him up, put him to the cage, and then now he's got the distance again. So, but yes, as you mentioned, one judge giving it 30-27 for Tai Tuivasa is probably one of the worst scorecards I think I've ever seen since I've been watching this sport.
Yeah. And it was so bad that literally the UFC officials kicked him out of the building afterwards.
Good.
Put in a new judge because he was so bad. And they knew that he was fucking fixed, dude. Rigged fucking 30-27 scorecard for Tai Tuivasa. On the same level as the fucking Marlon Chito Vera decision against Corey Sandhagen. Fucking awful scorecard. And Tai Tuivasa literally showed me nothing impressive in this fight. Had almost zero offense. Couldn't land his punches. And yeah, very sad stuff, dude. And he's got no reason to be happy after this fucking fight.
Yeah, he does, dude. He's making a lot of money. He made $100K to just do absolutely nothing. He's got mad sponsors, mad businesses going on. It's like I told you in the pre-fight show, man. This guy's got one foot out the door. So
yeah,
you should go pursue that other shit. He's a likable guy. Very fat, but just likable dude. I mean, dude, who's gonna hate Tai Tuivasa, like, besides you, obviously, because you picked him to get a first round knockout? If he goes off and he's just like an ambassador for some fucking stupid beer brand or weed business, like that's what he should be doing.
He's got a great personality, dude. He's got a lot of 100%. He's gonna bring people in, but he should take both feet out the door.
The problem with Rozenstruik, though, being a top heavyweight, is who is he gonna fucking fight next, dude? Like, he has no options, really.
I heard one person say just book Marcin Tybura versus him, since they're both open, and then everything
coming off a loss. But he's already fought like all the dudes. That's what I'm saying, dude. Is like heavyweight's so crammed up there. Marcin Tybura, Sergey Spivak needs to fight Almeida. That's definitely the fight to make next. But everybody's either waiting for a title shot or they've all already fought each other. The only fight to make after this is Derek Lewis versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
Yeah,
similar kind of matchup. What's that?
Ridiculous, dude. How has it not been booked yet? It's made sense for like 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only fight that I want to see Jairzinho Rozenstruik have, man. It's the only fight. But he can't really fight up the rankings because, as I just explained, he's got to fight Derek Lewis, man. That's the only fight that makes sense. Just don't put it in Houston, and Derek Lewis has a chance to win that one.
Yeah. Kenny Biggums has some words for this fight. And
we don't need to read his random
big
weird
boys
comment.
Yeah. We then go on to the feature fight of the night. I'd actually say probably the happiest moment for me.
Oh, we're in agreement there.
In this fight.
So much so that I texted you after the fight, and I was like, Dan fucking Hooker. Let's go.
Dan the fucking man. Hangman Hooker. Gets it done. And, he's come across a lot of hookers during that press conference. Many hookers were there in the arena, but there was one that stood out, and that was Dan Hooker. Absolutely fucking obliterating. No, well, not obliterating. It was a close fight, but Dan Hooker, in my opinion, did win 2 out of the 3 judges' scorecards against Mateusz Gamrot in what I think is deserving of fight of the night. I know DDP versus Izzy came very close to that, but I definitely say Hooker versus Gamrot was one of the most intense. I think the most intense of the night. If you know, you know, as Dana White would say. But Mateusz Gamrot, he tried to shoot his takedowns on Dan Hooker in the first round. Dan, for the most part, I think successfully stuffed them. He looked better on the feet. What I noticed immediately was that Dan Hooker looks just super tall and super lanky. Like, I always forget, because whenever he's really tired and he's going up against Jalen Turner, you're like, okay, Dan Hooker's an okay size for his division. But then when you see him against someone who's at the same level or even below the height of him, you're like, wow, dude, Dan Hooker's actually pretty freaking tall. And I think he used his lankiness in the fight to his advantage. had good body kicks and leg kicks for the most part. I think the boxing was clearly in favor of Dan Hooker. What decided the fight was whether or not he stuffed the takedowns of Gamrot. And there was a moment where Gamrot had Hooker down in the first round and was just beating the fucking shit out of him while Hooker was on his back. And I was like, uh-oh, there's the finish. This fight's over. But Dan the man, he somehow found a way to get back to his feet and make this a fucking dog fight for 3 whole rounds. The big question is whether Dan Hooker won the first round or not. It seems to be on most people's disputes. I think Dan Hooker did win because there were moments where he was beating up Gamrot towards the end and hitting him with shots where he was like on wobbly legs, whereas Gamrot's offense was mostly, okay, he's down on his back and he's beating him up. But I think in terms of what actually wobbled him, like Dan Hooker had the better striking, I think. And then round 2 came around. Gamrot, he got a few takedowns. He actually did pretty well on the feet, I think. Was able to use jabs and lead hooks to just sort of neutralize what Hooker was throwing in the second round. And then in the third round, the one that decided the whole thing, Dan Hooker had way more significant strikes, had a rally toward the end of the third round, was just cracking Gamrot with fucking right hands and uppercuts. And then at the end, dude, I had it Hooker 2-1 on my scorecards and was really in anticipation when they got to the judge's decision. I was fucking scared because it went to a split and I was like, oh God. But then I remembered the moment in that Felder versus Hooker fight where they went to the split and then it went, Dan! And then the crowd in Australia fucking blew. And I was like, dude, it's going to happen again. Lightning's going to strike twice.
That was actually in New Zealand, but yeah.
And then Bruce Buffer was like, Dan! And then I fucking exploded, dude. I was so fucking happy, man. And then I just ranted at JL for 5 whole minutes after that, which was a very rewarding feeling. But yeah, great fight. And I'm very happy for Dan the Man Hooker. He's back. He's back in the top 5, if you can believe it. What do you think?
I mean, this fight was definitely fight of the night. But honestly, dude, like, nah, it wasn't. Because this fight was way too sloppy, dude. Sloppiest fight I think I've ever seen for top 10. I know Dan Hooker was 11 heading into this, but sloppiest fight I've ever seen for top 10 lightweights. This actually makes me question whether or not lightweight is the best division in MMA anymore.
I don't think it is anymore. I don't think it is.
Yeah. If Dan Hooker and Gamrot are having this like sloppy of a fight, no technique involved, and not even really like straight up brawling, just like kind of bad technique at a lot of times.
And none of the lightweights want to fight each other at the moment.
Right.
Sort of becoming like welterweight.
Yeah. So yeah, like I think that Gamrot's striking looked much improved in this fight. He beat the shit out of Dan Hooker. But Dan Hooker, man, in the second and third round, as Mateusz Gamrot's gas tank started to dwindle, he started stuffing those takedowns, even threatening guillotines at certain points. Not really like actually. Yeah, what's up?
Gilly Goose Gang?
Yeah, no, definitely not. But he wasn't really like threatening them in a serious fashion. It was just more like, hey, if you're gonna just continue to shoot for takedowns, I got this Gilly ready for you. And the body work from Dan Hooker with those teep kicks. He's always got fantastic teep kicks.
Yeah.
But yeah, by the end of the fight, I was questioning whether or not Dan had won, and he did, and I'm so happy for him. He's back in the top 5, but again, it's another indictment on the lightweight division. Dan Hooker in the top 5 again? Are you serious? Is this division even really what it once was?
Well, Gamrot, there's an indictment against Gamrot for getting dropped 3 times by RDA in his last fight. And,
I disagree, man. RDA is still a tough customer. I think he's still got it to some degree, but yeah, I think that it's not an indictment on Gamrot because I thought his striking was much improved in this fight.
Oh yeah,
in a fight that what's up? In
this fight for sure.
Yeah, it was a fight that I picked him to win. I thought that he'd get it done with grappling, but no, man, he fucking hung in there with the hangman. And loses a splitty to him, and Gamrot's got some thinking to do, man.
What people forget, man, Gamrot actually had a pretty close striking contest with Fiziev during their fight before Fiziev's leg snapped. So, you know, Gamrot, he had some potential in terms of the striking, but Dan Hooker, he just fucking toughs it out, man. That is the Dan Hooker special, man. He finds a way to fucking survive. When's the last time he was actually finished? I think it's actually been like a couple years since Dan.
No, Hooker. It hasn't. It was Arnold Allen when he dropped down to 145.
Yeah. Was that 2021 or 2022?
That was literally just like a few months ago, like 6 months ago.
But Hooker's last fight was against Jalen Turner.
Yeah. I don't think it was a couple years ago. Had to have been not even a year ago at most.
Yikes. Okay. Well, Dan Hooker, I did not expect him to have this much grit and still have his chin intact, dude. I'm very impressed. And what's next for Dan Hooker? Who does he fight next? Which is actually one of the more intriguing "who does he fight next" questions.
Fuck. I don't know, dude. Maybe Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, I think we got it between Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, and Dustin Gaethje.
Yeah, I'd like to see Charles Oliveira because of that one bit that he had. Charlie Olives, I got broomsticks thicker than that bloke. Fantastic line from Dan Hooker and Oppressor. And nice. Dude, I just love Dan Hooker on the mic, dude. He has fantastic mic work. He did call out Justin Gaethje after the fight, but anyway.
Yeah, I think Oliveira versus Hooker would probably be the closer of the three of them, in my opinion. But Gaethje versus Hooker is definitely a fun matchup as well. One of my happiest moment for the card, and then we move right into my saddest moment on the card. Kai Kara-France knocking out Steve Erceg in the first round.
Hilarious.
Pretty brutal. Steve Erceg, in my opinion, he still looked pretty decent in terms of throwing the jab. He was technical in there, but then he got caught. Kai Kara-France caught him with a big blow, and he was stumbled thereon. He was trying to go for a leg, failed, and then immediately backed up against the cage. There's one thing I got to really critique Erceg for. It's that he just looked fucking rocked. Right after he was, hit with a big blow, he immediately was just backing up and he was fucking out of it. There was no moment where I was like, oh, Erceg can rally from this or Erceg can recover. He did not. He looked irrecoverable for the rest of the fight immediately after he got dropped. I don't know if that's what's the word for it? I don't know if that's a testament to Kara-France's power or if Erceg is really that fucking weak once he's hit in the chin. But either way, Erceg got fucking flatlined by Kai Kara-France.
Yeah.
And good for him, dude. Good for Kai Kara-France. He got fucking robbed against Amir Albazi. It's been a very long time since he's won a fight or even been booked in a fight. So this is a big comeback for Kai Kara-France, and now he's right back in the mix at flyweight. But poor Steve Erceg.
I was very happy when this happened. I was elated, actually, because it really satisfied me to get Steve Erceg, see him get his comeuppance. To me, this proves, the knockout itself. He was flat-footed, had his right hand down, didn't move his head, got knocked out by the left hand of Kai Kara-France, who's very powerful. But this is an indictment on Steve Erceg's career. If you ask me, he got pushed way too fast to the top of the division because Pantoja didn't have a lot of contenders. He'd already beaten all the guys down there. But to be fair to Steve Erceg, I think that we got to start when we pick fights and look at matchups. Kai Kara-France had a layoff, and he was a fresher guy. Steve Erceg just came off of a pretty brutal fight with Alexandre Pantoja, and I think that's led to more of why he got finished in the fashion that he did. Probably should have took a longer layoff, but can't pass up the opportunity to fight in front of your hometown crowd. Right. But yeah, man, I'm hoping that this is a big fall off for Steve Erceg because I just can't stand all these people that just are riding the wave of Steve Erceg getting its undeserved title shot, in which he looked really good, in respect to him. But yeah, I'm really happy because how do you do a 40-minute interview with Luke Thomas about how MMA boxing is bad, and you say, "Oh no, see, I work on my boxing all the time, man," and then have somebody like Luke Thomas push a narrative that Steve Erceg has the best boxing in the flyweight division, and then you get hit with a clean left hook from Kaikar France, dude. Are you serious? Hilarious.
Yeah. This is worse than Ian Gary and his behavior. He totally deserves everything that's coming to him. I hope he falls off and never comes back. Very, very unforgiving.
Yeah, problem is Ian Gary actually has more skills than Steve Erceg.
This is also a reminder that Idaho Skatesman wanted Paddy Pimblett to get hit by a bus immediately after he submitted Bobby Green in pretty dominant fashion.
Not a bus, a double-decker bus like the ones they have in London. That was
because
the joke.
It's in the UK. Yes.
What's that?
There's the joke. It finally landed.
No,
Good.
Because of what?
What?
Yeah, because it's in England. Yes, exactly. Yes, that was a joke. Wasn't the best joke of my career, my MMA broadcasting career, but nonetheless, I thought it was pretty funny at the time. Turns out that Hank the Tank really hated that joke.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess it was combined with my elation that I got the pick right, and then the complete like counter response to that. I guess that fucking switched me off. Also, I had been streaming for like 5 or 6 hours. So
yeah, for sure.
I was on fucking edge.
I just thought it was like double-decker bus. Let's go, because it's in England.
Yeah. Well, there's the Harry Potter joke. Perfect. We then have our main event of the evening. Another great candidate for fight of the night for the pay-per-view. But I still think that Hooker versus Gamrot is fight of the night. But this came pretty damn close, dude. This was a very exciting war between Dricus Du Plessis and Israel Adesanya. They went back and forth, traded. We said that Dricus Du Plessis would have the better grappling of the two of them, and that the takedown was there because Israel Adesanya is a kickboxer and not primarily focused on wrestling or getting takedowns, unless it's against a fellow kickboxer in Alex Pereira. And Du Plessis knew this, and I think he took pretty much full advantage of it. Took him a little while to do so, but he was able to get there in the end. Thinking about that first round, Israel Adesanya, he had good body work. He had good leg kicks. They traded. A very even round, I think, in the first round for the most part. But then Du Plessis shot the takedown. He got on the back. We saw that he was trying to use his submission work to get Adesanya out of there early. Didn't work out, and then they got to their feet. And we already saw a little bit of DDP gassing and Israel connecting with better shots. But how do you score that first round, Skatesman?
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't scoring the fight. But it was a fairly back and forth one. The whole fight itself was. But yeah, I wasn't really scoring the fight.
I think I had to do Plessis in the moment, but I was wavering in and out between Dricus and Izzy for that first round. Then the second round comes around.
Well, when the final scorecards were revealed, two of the judges had Izzy up 2-1, and then one of the judges had Dricus up 2-1. So
yeah, interesting. But then
I think that sorry, one more thing. I think that two of the judges had scored it for Izzy and one had scored it for DDP. So it was a pretty relatively close round.
Yeah. Actually, I think it was two judges that had it for Dricus, 2-1.
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, the second round happens. It's another case of them going back and forth. Du Plessis does really a lot better with the Brunson kind of fucking lunge with his fists, but Izzy's good at just pressuring forward and getting leg kicks and body work. There was a strange moment in round 2 where Israel Adesanya, I think, actually dropped DDP. It was like one of those fucking phantom punches like he did on Rob, where it's like, where did that punch even come from? Oh my God, Dricus is down. Did he actually get knocked down by that? But then, I mean, leave it up to DDP to have the fucking grit to get knocked down and then immediately fucking pressure forward to go for a takedown on Israel Adesanya. That definitely saved him during that moment, because I don't even know if Izzy knew if Dricus was hurt with that, but Izzy fucking slips and trips backwards and then DDP gets him down with the takedown. So Dricus Du Plessis, he's got a fucking killer instinct, and when he sees an opportunity, he takes fucking full advantage of it. No diddy. And yeah, better grappling, and then I think DDP got the better shots in that round as well. So I actually scored that for DDP. And then the third round occurs, and this is where Izzy's starting to put 2 and 2 together, as well as realize that Dricus Du Plessis is starting to gas out, because that's when the body shots really start to come in from Israel Adesanya. He's just ripping to the body of DDP, getting more leg kicks as well, and then catching Du Plessis coming in with counter shots. But Dricus Du Plessis, I could tell that he was still in there for round 3 because he just kept on fucking lunging forward. Man was taking punishment and still trying to knock Izzy's block off. And he was always connecting with either a 2 or a 3 when he was going in for his big fucking combinations. And I knew that Dricus was still in it, but at that point I had it 2-1, either DDP or Adesanya. I didn't know who the fuck was winning going into that fourth round. Fourth round, a lot of the same that happened in round 3. Izzy's ripping to the body. He's looking good. Obviously outstriking DDP. I'm just looking at the numbers. It was sort of weird. Like round 3 had Izzy way up on strikes. And I didn't entirely agree with that. I thought it was a lot closer. But in round 4, like Izzy definitely had more strikes than DDP before the finishing sequence. Du Plessis' face looked fucking roughed up. I could tell that he was just gasping for air at moments, as DDP pre-nostril fix tends to do. But then, lo and behold, man, he finds a way to win, lunges forward with Izzy against the cage, hits him with a big right that I think actually dropped Adesanya. People are debating whether or not he actually got knocked down by that. I think he did, because
I do too.
It was like half trip, half, oh God, he's wobbled. So I think that counts as a knockdown. And then Izzy's fucking doing his thing that he always does when the big brawlers have him against the cage, and he's trying to get out of the way and run away and, just do quick head movement and quick escapes from the cage. But Dricus was not fucking having it, dude. He actually hit what a lot of analysts were calling like a double jab when he had Izzy running away, hit the big shot, and then another one, and that's what dropped Adesanya. Brilliant work chasing him from Dricus Du Plessis, almost as good as Alex Pereira's. And he gets him fucking down, gets the takedown while Izzy uses the momentum of them both running to get the takedown, perfectly gets the back, hooks her in, and then he immediately just gets his fucking left arm around the neck, and Adesanya taps pretty much right away. Incredible finishing sequence. I was fucking shocked at what I was seeing, because that's not how the fight was going for most of it. But Dricus Du Plessis, he was on him like a fucking wild animal as soon as he knew he had him hurt, and took full advantage. DDP is the African king, and Israel Adesanya, he might not be retired, but I don't think he's ever fighting for a title again, in my estimation. So DDP wins the fucking rivalry, and apparently it's going to be him versus Sean again next. Don't know if that's going to entirely pan out, but there's a possibility.
Yeah, that was extremely thorough breakdown of the fight. Good breakdown. I think that my biggest takeaways from this fight is that DDP is an anomaly, dude. This guy is so sloppy, especially into the later rounds. He just looks like completely gassed. I thought Izzy was moving downhill on him. I was like, dude, Izzy's going to win this fight by decision.
Yeah, I thought so too.
He's got him on the ropes. He's out striking him. This is finally turning into an Izzy fight. And then the finish happens, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? First time I think that Izzy's ever been submitted. But yeah, man, this guy DDP, dude, he's an anomaly. He might be the worst fighter that's like the best fighter ever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was a fascinating fight from start to finish. The ebbs and flows. I wanted Izzy to retire because I'm sick of him. Not really his fighting necessarily, just him outside of the cage. He's one of the most annoying people ever. But you know what? Any press is a good press, So, yeah, he takes off the gloves and he's like, "Psych, I'm not retiring." As far as Izzy never being able to, what's that?
Pulled a Tony, one glove, and I'm still in it.
Yeah, he didn't pull a Tony though. He took both of his gloves off. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Oh, as far as him winning a title again, I don't think that that's completely out of the question, but Izzy's getting older. He's about 36 now, I think, and definitely out of his prime. Dricus Du Plessis, still a young guy, especially for middleweight. But yeah, dude, I just don't know. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if anybody beat DDP, because he's like doesn't have good technique, doesn't have a good gas tank, but this guy fights to finish a fight, man. Mm-hmm. He goes in there to fight, goes in there for a finish. He's a total bruiser. how could you not love just a completely vulnerable looking champion? That's what we want in the sport. We don't want guys that are just blowing the doors off of people every time in easy fashion. You know what I'm saying? Like top rank fucking prospects. We want a guy that's got weaknesses. What's that?
He's fucking tough and gritty as a $2 steak, dude. He cannot be fucking finished, at least so far.
Oh gosh, I mean, you can't overstate that enough, dude. This guy, he's a pleasure to watch. This fight was fantastic. It over-delivered in so many aspects, and happy for DDP.
Me too.
Man, Sean Strickland next. I'm not that interested in that. I think that Sean Strickland certainly has a good claim because their fight was so close. Would be good to see. I think a more interesting prospect is Hamzat, if he can get it done versus Robert Whitaker, which I feel like he can. But yeah, anybody next. I wouldn't be surprised if he loses, but I'll be rooting for him. I'll tell you that.
Me too. Panda W is here in the SkateTank MMA chat. Guys, let's just process this one more time. DDP submitted Izzy in fashion. One of the greatest moments in UFC history, and smiles across all our faces because Izzy's a twink. Couldn't have said it better myself, Panda W. You're on to something. Izzy's a piece of shit. I'm glad he got subbed. Skates analysis, 30 seconds. Hank's analysis, 5 business days. Not with free shipping, Panda W.
He literally broke down the entire fight, like minute by minute. But it's good. Good recollection and memory. I gotta wrap this show up, dude. It's late. There's fucking animals out. I'm in the mountains. I gotta get out of here, man.
I
maybe do a contender series video tomorrow, or I'll hop out and you can do it right now. Whatever you feel like doing.
Yeah. I think let me just say one more statement about this fight, and then you can head out. I can do my contender series. I just had like visions in my mind during that 4th round when he got him down and he subbed him. I was thinking of Yuri Prohaska. I was thinking of Yuri when he got the fucking rear naked choke on Glover Teixeira. One of those dudes who just will not go down easily. And also, like, you're talking about vulnerable champions. I was also thinking of a few names. Nick Diaz, who was always getting fucking dropped by his opponents and then fucking rallying back. And then Frankie Edgar as well. Like somebody who's just always in trouble until he's not. So I'm glad that DDP's in that same fucking lineage. He's always a pleasure to watch with his fights. So really happy this happened, man. What a great pay-per-view overall. I give it like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, for sure. The same. 8 out of 10. Appreciate you running the stream while I'm off on a work trip. But I got to get out of here, dude. I got to work in the morning.
Sure. All right. Well, have a good night, Skatesman. Thank you for being deployed. I'll catch you on the other side.
Yes. Peace out, troopers and grinders.
All right. Catch you later, man. That leaves me, Hank the Tank, from a final stretch of this stream. And I hope that Volkan Ardich is still here. If not, you can watch the archived video, Volkan, because I will be breaking down my picks for the Contender Series. Week 2, not going to be as fun as week 1 in my estimations. It's got less name value, and on top of that, I think a lot of these guys are fucking sloppy and didn't deserve to be on the Contender Series in the first place. But we're here. It's been booked, so there's no use crying over spilled milk. And I'm going to break down every one of these fights and let you know who I think is going to win in case you're interested in making your own predictions. Wasn't it weird, though, how Izzy went down and let DDP get his back? Slight scripted feeling. Well, think about it this way. Like, Izzy, think about Amanda Nunes with Juliana Pena. That looked fucking scripted when she got her back taken and she immediately tapped just like this. It also looked sort of scripted when Alexa Grasso took the back of Valentina Shevchenko and tapped her out immediately afterwards. But these things happen where somebody just takes the back and they just make fucking quick work of them. As soon as they get the hooks in, Panda W, it's really quick. When you actually have the hooks in and you have the body triangle, the submission isn't that far away. So if you actually know what you're doing and you've practiced with the grappling and the wrestling, you should be able to get a submission relatively quickly, especially when the dude's like on his chest and he's like, his face is on the mat and he's getting like pressure put on him. He has no idea what's going on. It's much easier to get a submission on someone who's on their chest rather than on their back. I'll be right back, guys. I'll be right back really quick. But yeah, I just feel like once you're on your chest, it's pretty much over. It's like Nate Diaz against Conor McGregor when he's got him fucking flattened out. The submission comes pretty soon after. But yeah, getting submitted is easy if it's in, and I think it was fully in for sure. We then move on to my predictions for Contender Series Week 2. I think this is going to be sort of a shit show compared to the first season, but we will still get some exciting finishes within this crop. Starting with Billy Brand versus Cody Haddon. Both these guys are very entertaining and have taken really good prospects in the UFC today to close fights where they've almost fraud checked them. Cody Haddon almost beat Steve Erceg, gave him a very tough fight before he was knocked out. And then Billy Brand went to, let me think. Who did Billy Brand get? Oh, he came close to beating Peyton Talbot before Peyton Talbot knocked him out. So both these guys have looked good against really tough competition, and now they're being booked against each other. In my opinion, this is going to be the fight of the night. In my opinion, both these guys come to fucking swing and land, and it's going to be a barn burner as long as it lasts. But I got Cody Haddon by second round KO. Thing about Billy Brand is that he fights like a guy in one championship. He's more of a Muay Thai guy. He does a lot of knees, and he's sort of like Rod Tang, where he takes a bunch of punishment and then comes back with a big shot. But when it comes to actually getting the better of the exchanges, usually he isn't able to do that. So he gets beaten up and then he lands the big shot. That already is a disadvantage for Billy Brand against Cody Haddon, who I think has really quick fists and a lot of power in them as well. He's just good overall. He's got good grappling. He's got good striking, and he's got a good gas tank as well. So he's almost always on the offense, whereas Billy Brand takes a while to fucking start up like an old tuned out buggy, go, like a car. But Cody Haddon, I just think is better all around, and he's going to give Billy Brand a fight as long as this lasts. And I think he's going to have more damage overall than Billy Brand, and eventually hit him with something big. I don't think Billy Brand can get the big miraculous knee that's going to win him the fight. Let's listen from Panda. Jones versus Gane is 100% scripted. I agree. Gane is the best heavyweight on the planet, and I ain't tripping saying this. I can break it down so it makes sense. Oh, you don't have to. I think that fight is scripted as well as a good segment of the UFC community in general. All faves win for the Contender Series. Not always, dude. I've picked locks on the Contender Series before, and they've gotten fucking destroyed. But I think this is a different Contender Series season this time around. And I think you're onto something because I think I picked all favorites for this week. Skatesman on paid military leave, but still in the chat. Good show today, Hank. Thank you very much, Idaho Skatesman. If you want to, you can stick around a little bit for my Contender Series breakdown. But if not, again, have a good night's sleep. I meant all faves win on this Contender Series. Agreed. I got Cody Haddon by round 2 KO. I just think he's going to overwhelm Billy Brand. Then we move on to Cam Rouston versus Torres Finney. I'm shocked that Torres Finney isn't in the UFC already because he got a second round submission in that fight. It was a very exciting fight as well. But for some reason, Dana didn't give him the contract because we don't hire old guys, and then he continues to hire guys who are 34 or 35 to compete in the Contender Series. Maybe it's not him booking these fights. I highly doubt it. I think Dana books a good amount of these fights, which makes it very hypocritical that he signs all these fucking dinosaurs for fights, even though he doesn't like having them around. Go figure. You go ask Dana why he does that. But I got Finney actually earning himself a contract and getting into the UFC this time around with a round 1 knockout. Thing about Cam Rouston is, God, what is there to say about Cam Rouston? He leaves his arms down and his head open. He does grappling as well. He's mostly a wrestler, but he's not a wrestler on the level of Torres Finney. And because he's a wrestler, his striking isn't all that up to snuff either. He leaves himself very open. And I feel like Torres Finney is just going to out fucking muscle Cam Rouston, get him down to the mat, get the better of the grappling, end up on top. And then big ground and pound TKO finish in the first round. One thing that I will say that's sort of scary going into this fight is that Torres Finney has almost zero striking. He's like a fucking Valter Walker type where his stand-up is non-existent, but his attacks on the ground are vicious. And then you just think about whether this comes down to a matter of who is the better wrestler. And it seems to me obvious that Torres Finney is the better wrestler. So he's going to out-wrestle Cam Rouston, get him down, and just fucking destroy him. on the ground. Let's see what the chat's saying. Hyped for Contender Series tomorrow. I hope I can watch it. I hope so too. Thanks for hanging in the chat, Panda. Yes. On this episode. Yep. On this episode of the Contender Series. Badass fights. Then we got Cortavius Romius versus Michael Imperato. One thing I want to say about Michael Imperato is that he is a racist and he is a homophobe, as we saw in his little beef that he had with Aljamain Sterling that got him cut from the UFC. The guy is just a fucking bigot and a jerk, and I'm shocked that he's even getting a spot on the Contender Series given his track record in the promotion and also his fight with this guy who, you know, he had a decent record. He beat a couple guys that were impressive, and he just got a miraculous submission of this guy in round one. The only reason he's even being booked here is because Dana White saw him get the finish on Dana White looking for a fight with that fucking goober. What the fuck's his name? The guy who knocked out George St. Pierre. Jesus Christ. And his name's on the tip of my tongue. I should absolutely know who that guy is. Matt Serra. He was with that fucking goof, New York Matt Serra, and they were in a fucking Toronto show in Canada. And Dana White even said, dude, I don't know about Michael Imperato, dude. I don't feel like he's getting a finish here. He's got a horrible record. He looks weak against 1-1 guys, against guys with draw records, and he's still going to close decisions with them. I see the other younger guy winning, and then Michael Imperato proved him wrong, so he gave him a spot here on the Contender Series, but to no avail, because I think that Romius is going to clean his clock and fucking send him to the Shadow Realm. Romius is also a grappler, primarily, but the thing about Romius is that if he keeps this on the feet, he just fucking rushes forward with big swinging, looping punches and has the power of a fucking freight train. So if he does hit you, then you're going down. By the way, Cortavius Romius was on No Chill MMA's American Prospect series. So, because I remember Are You Not Entertained as his nickname. And Taurus Finney is also a member of No Chill's American Prospect series. So it's actually really cool watching those series of videos and then coming back to see them on the Contender Series. Romius was in his Prospects video because he had a lot of power, got exciting finishes, and is a good grappler as well. So I feel like having a combination of striking and grappling excellence is going to make the difference in this fight. And Imperato is going to try to go for his miraculous takedown in the first minute because afterwards he just gasses and doesn't look like an MMA fighter. And then Cortavius is going to counter him and stuff the takedowns and then fucking knock Imperato out because he knows he has to get a brutal finish to win a contract on the Contender Series. And that's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to pull a fucking Terrence McKinney, first round knockout. Then we move on to our co-main event of the evening. We got Rizvan Akuniev against Hugo Cunha. I got Rizvan Kuniev, although he is a controversial choice to pick in general due to him being popped for EPO after beating Renan Ferreira, who won the $1 million in the PFL, which is a very good win to have, but unfortunately it got fucking, watered down by him testing positive for illegal substances during that fight. So that's sort of a tainted victory, but it doesn't matter because Kuniev in general is pretty good on the feet. He's nothing if not consistent. He gets good 1-2s and combinations, but never really follows up or tries hunting for the finish. His killer instinct's pretty mid. Meanwhile, Hugo Cunha, just look at this fucking guy. He's a blob, and his main weapon is the takedown and the grappling on top. He does have a good amount of submission, so that if you're going to pick Hugo Cunha, submission is how you do it. But fortunately, I just feel like Kuniev is a good enough grappler himself that he can reverse what Cunha has in store and just basically beat him up for 3 rounds. He knows that he'll need a finish to win on the Contender Series, so he might actually pick up the pace going into the 3rd round and beat and knock out Cunha like Sharamagomedov style, where it's super unimpressive and he doesn't look like he absolutely flatlined him. But I do think that Cunha is going to dominate the fight overall, have better takedown defense than Cunha wants, and get out of the fucking blueberry violet from Willy Wonka's grappling offense and counter him with strikes and basically put him out in round 3. And I think that if anyone's not winning a contract for this week, it's going to be Rizvan Kunyev. So he's going to look sort of mid, but still find a way to win in a largely unenlightening affair. And Hugo Cunha can go back to the fucking chocolate factory. And finally, we get to the main event of the week as Pat Pitlick, the Canadian, takes on Andreas Gustafsson. Bang, Batman! I got Andreas Gustafsson by round 2 KO. I think this is one of the closer fights on the card. Both these guys love to strike. Both these guys have power in their fists. Both these guys could very easily knock each other out. So it's a matter of who lands first. But I do have Gustafsson by round 2 KO because I feel like Gustafsson's going to have better technical ability than Pat Pitlick. And Gustafsson comes in with big, scary fucking strikes, but then he clinches. And when he gets you in the clinch, his knee game is absolutely fucking devastating. Brutal, knocks out his opponents with that usually, and just his body work pressed up against the cage is what wins him a lot of fights. And I feel like Pitlick isn't going to figure out the puzzle of Andreas Gustafsson. Feel like they're going to go tit for tat in the first round, hit each other with some big punches. And then when the second round comes around, Andreas Gustafsson is going to get Pat Pitlick pushed up against the cage, hit him with a bunch of punches, uppercuts, knees, and put out Pat Pitlick with that offense. It's just a matter of who seems more consistent to me and whose game plan is going to work out better between these two. And I feel like Gustafsson has a better game plan than Pat Pitlick, who's very focused on winning the exchanges, whereas Gustafsson has one approach that he takes that usually works. So I'm going to go with the guy with the more consistent game plan in Andreas Gustafsson to win by knockout, win himself a contract, and finally we'll have another Gustafsson in the UFC. It's from the same fucking country as Alexander as well. So very interesting fights, not as good as the first week at all, but we should get a very similar caliber of action. So I'm going to be here, me, Hank the Tank. I'm going to be covering the Contender Series for week 2 tomorrow. Is it at 3:30? If it's let me actually check it if it's at 3:30, just to make sure. It should be at 3:30 though. Wouldn't make sense if it wasn't. 7 p.m. Eastern time. So actually that's going to be 4 o'clock. So I'll see you guys at 4 o'clock to cover the Contender Series with Hank the Tank's War Games Fight Companion. And good stream between me and the Skatesman. Very eventful MMA weekend. I was thoroughly entertained as that Cortavius guy was asking me. And as I said before, great UFC pay-per-view, good action overall. And Contender Series should have some bangers and some finishes as well. So feels like us MMA fans and combat sports militias are very spoiled at the moment, as we should be after a bunch of schlock we've been dealing with in the first half of this year. Love that you break down all the promotions, bro, not just the UFC. Thank you very much, King's World. I follow in the vein of the City Life Project in being committed to all MMA. Gorilla Monkey Sabretooth. Very interesting. And on that note, you have escaped the war zone for now. I hope that I would have an outro very specifically made for this stream, but I don't. So I'm going to just do some fucking improv until I can find the outro button. We got some comments. I'm Panda, by the way. Wow, it's Panda. I can't believe it. It's his persona. Panda has his persona. He's either the panda or he's the wolf. DDP fights like a mix between GSP and Juliana Pena. I think I've got the outro I needed just from that, Mr. Toad. Hey, Juliana Pena against Amanda Nunes. I was not impressed by your performance.
I'm the champion. Dude, I won against Amanda Nunes. Nobody's good against Amanda Nunes except me. I should get the title shot. It's been 2 years since I last fought, but I deserve to get a title shot because of Amanda. So pathetic, Amanda. I can beat you. 3 rounds, 5 rounds, doesn't matter. I have the best offense. I played like a fucking fast and throw myself at you. I land every single time. Me can win again. I'm undefeated. I shouldn't get any number one contenders fights.